Proudly presented by Pentz Homes and part of the Hitting the Hardwood podcast network. This is Lynx Happy Hour. We are jumping right into this today because the back-to-back on Thursday and Friday is maybe the worst possible WNBA scheduling for the Lynx Happy Hour podcast. So thank you, Kathy Engelbert, for making this week difficult. Thankfully, it's the last back-to-back of the season. Happy to not have to deal with this anymore. Happy to be here at Happy Hour. And even happiest to be with my colleague at the Hitting the Hardwood Podcast Network, Mitchell HANSEN. Mitchell, how are you?
I'm doing well, thank you. I'm in the same boat as you, where I don't understand why we have so many back-to-backs, but yet teams will have, I think it's like 2 times throughout the year that they have just like a week off of games. So that will be on the next episode of Lynx Happy Hour, where we take an hour-and-a-half deep dive into the schedule.
You'd think if everyone has that big of a chunk, that you'd be able to just make it so that no one has back-to-backs.
Yeah, I agree.
I think I can't remember which show I was on, if it was one of mine or if it was Andrew's, or I don't know. But I had mentioned before, I've done a little bit of scheduling in the past, and I know that like scheduling rec leagues and stuff isn't the same, but it is kind of funny when you put one thing together and then it just ruins the schedule for everything else. So I'm not here to say that WNBA scheduling isn't complicated, but I think they can figure it out.
Yeah.
And you give me that 6-figure salary in a boardroom, and I guarantee you I'll figure it out. So
yeah, hey, let's get our listeners to advocate for us being a part of the WNBA front office.
Kathy, we're right here. We're right here. We can be on a plane to New York tonight.
We can start a new podcast if that's what it takes.
For sure.
We can do that.
It's turnkey at this point. We'll table that for another time. Mitchell, thank you for joining me today. It is Friday, August 22nd. Like I mentioned, a Thursday, Friday back-to-back makes the whole premise of this podcast publishing on a Thursday or Friday at about happy hour time is tough when there are games happening at that time. But this seemed to be what works best. We'll get this up just, a few hours before tip-off in Indianapolis. So we'll get your pregame listening for you Lynx fans. And then hopefully what we say, we'll just predict the future so that the rest of this fits until next week's episode of Lynx Happy Hour. Mitchell, it finally happened. The Lynx lost back-to-back games.
It did.
And we're all pushing the panic button.
I have my panic button right next to me, and I'm smacked. No, I'm just kidding. It was.
Do you think A-Rod fires Cheryl before the game in Indianapolis tonight or after? I'm kidding. Let the record reflect. That's a joke. Let the record reflect. I'm joking.
On the next episode of Lynx Happy Hour, we are going to be talking about WNBA scheduling and front office.
Right. We're just taking a hard pivot to only hot takes.
That's off-season pod. But no, it's actually remarkable that it's taken this long. I was actually talking to somebody the other day where, the Lynx lost to the Liberty, and they're like, "Oh, they lost to Liberty." I'm like, "Yeah, I guess when you're going to lose, I guess you're what, 30, it was at that time, like 34 games in. I'm like, losing 6 games is not bad. that's pretty decent. But, it was going to happen at some point. I mean, it usually happens for everybody. Minnesota's just been on that kind of a tear, but, I mean, all things considered, they are without Nafisa Collier, and they were in these 2 games that they lost, and they were in there till the end. So it's, as hard as it is to have a loss is still a loss at the end of the day, regardless of who you have on the court and who you don't. But, there's a little bit of a silver lining there, I think.
Yeah. It felt like that a little bit with yesterday's game against Atlanta in particular. Mm-hmm. It's a delicate dance because they definitely left some opportunities out there. Like the last possession in particular, Cheryl mentioned after the game that Courtney missed getting the ball to a wide open Alana Smith for a layup that could have tied the game. Maybe Courtney noticed it late, and that's why her shot was kind of like
Mm-hmm.
weirdly short, like maybe like last second try to do something else, so then it just gets kind of weird. But
Right.
you got to give credit to Atlanta. The Dream are a team that will give the Lynx some issues if this
Mm-hmm.
is a right now they're the number 2 team in the league, so potential finals matchup, potential
Mm-hmm.
semifinals matchup. Obviously the size, I thought the size of Atlanta was the biggest problem
Yeah.
last night. Like if you just looked at the shot chart in the fourth quarter alone,
Mm-hmm.
there was a ton of red in the lane,
Yeah.
and Atlanta had 8 block shots in the night. 5 of them came in the fourth quarter. Masha missed a layup. Smith missed a layup. Shepard missed a layup. Not easy layups. Like they're just
Mm-hmm.
classified as layup because they're right at the hoop. But it was really difficult to get anything going for them in the fourth quarter. And it wasn't the best shooting night for Courtney. BC and McBride did their thing, but they were trying to get to the hoop and get easy buckets in the
Mm-hmm.
fourth quarter. And Atlanta just, basically was all roads closed.
Yeah.
And that's exactly the area that Nafisa Collier is going to give you a lot of help in. So
Especially when you have the games where, like you were talking about, like Courtney Williams was struggling offensively and just kind of, it seemed it was an off game for Courtney Williams. That's a game I know we were kind of texting back and forth during the game that is a game where Nafisa Collier will come in and just kind of settle things down and she can take over and just kind of mask a lot of those things.
right,
I mean, an MVP front runner. I mean, that will obviously make a huge difference on your team, regardless of who's playing well or who isn't. But
right,
to going back to the Atlanta thing too, it's I tweeted this during the game too, that this team is just hard to kind of figure out because they can play you in so many different ways. They're, like you mentioned, they're big. They can protect the paint, but they can also spread the floor too. And I mean, you saw that kind of in the fourth quarter, especially in, well, maybe third quarter and fourth quarter, but second half, regardless, that you saw them on Atlanta side, not defensively, but offensively, they were just throwing up shots from deep. And they can run the floor, they can kind of attack you from anywhere, and they can defend. So it's a tough team to figure out because, especially when you're shorthanded like Minnesota is too. It's just you have to play a perfect game to beat them, and that's kind of the case. And Atlanta just kind of, I don't know if they picked up the steam specifically in the fourth quarter too.
right. And Alicia Gray was spectacular last
Yes,
night.
yeah,
So
she's having a great year.
don't want this to just be a Link screwed up and that's why they lost kind of thing.
Right.
They did screw up at spots, but there's obviously a lot of credit to be given out to the Dream.
Mm-hmm.
But the Lynx got off to such a nice start. They were getting BC the ball, and that's seems when we're talking during games, I'm like, let's get Bridget some more shots in the
Yep.
team. Like, come on. That was working, and the defense was playing, pretty well, especially at the
Mm-hmm.
start, but they were either making a three or turning the ball over. And then they started turning the ball over a lot. It's 18 turnovers on the night. 14 of those came in the first half. And I think 3 came pretty early in the third quarter. I don't have the exact thing in the play-by-play. I did write it down, but they were at 7. They hit 17, and I'm like, they're gonna set the season high, which
Mm-hmm.
is 25, like pretty easily. And
Right.
then they were stuck on there. They stayed at 17 turnovers for a while, and they had one towards the end of the fourth. So they cleaned that up, but it was just too little, too late. Had they
Mm-hmm.
were able to, I honestly think had they been able to just button that up, even without the shot making going up, that this would have been a different game.
Yeah.
And
When you look too, like I'm just looking at the box score. Yes, they had 18 turnovers, but accounted for 22 points for Atlanta. It scored 75 points in the game. I mean, it's
right.
that's a lot to give up on the other end when you're turning the ball over like that.
And they were recovering, but I think that like those, like the first 20 or like 18 points came within like the first like 14 or 14
Yeah,
turnovers.
yeah.
So yeah, that was really the hole they were trying to dig themselves out of. And it was like at halftime they were down by 2,
Mm-hmm.
and weren't lighting the world on fire, but they're sort of efficiently scoring, and they held Atlanta scoreless for basically the last 3 minutes of the first half. I think it was 2 minutes, 57 seconds. Atlanta went up 42-32, and it was 42-40 at the half. Then it was just dream bucket, bring it back down, pick six by Alicia Gray, missed shot by Courtney Williams, another bucket, timeout. And it was like, okay, right back to a nearly double-digit lead for the Dream. So it was just one of those games where the turn never really like fully came. Usually like you'll see the Lynx kind of mess around for a little bit and then turn the page and it's like, all right, it's winning time. That's usually that's kind of the typical Lynx game. And they just kind of kept going back and forth. And you can say it's a random game without your best player towards the end of the season on the road when you have a big lead in the standings. But so I don't think it's worth pushing the panic button. I know people are doing it, and we love you. Keep being you.
Thank you for listening.
But there's certainly, I think there is a lot to, I think this will probably be a game that gets, I don't know how many times over Cheryl watches a game. I would guess it's quite high.
I would say. I'd say she breaks it down quite a bit.
This is probably in like the 90th percentile for like total rewatches. Compared to other games. It doesn't sound as though Fee is terribly far away from playing. She was upgraded from out to doubtful ahead of the last game against New York at home last weekend on Saturday. That doubtful that turned into a questionable this week. So the progression is, happening. And she got another questionable tag in the status report. We're probably about 2.5 hours away as we speak right now from any kind of pregame presser. And Cheryl's not going to tell us if he is going to play or not in the pregame presser. And
I'll tell you right now, she'll say she'll warm up and they'll see how she is before the game.
Right. Or it's a sign that she's getting closer. So there's a little bit here where, the Fever are reeling a little bit and you need to be pragmatic. Like, if this Lynx team without Fee plays like we've seen it play for the most part, it should beat this Fever team that is just dropping players like flies. With Sophie Cunningham out for the season. Now the latest big injury that they've sustained. But, Aaliyah Boston has given them trouble. The last time they played, Natasha Howard gave them more than a handful to deal with. So you can sort of take that pragmatic approach. But the thing I kind of keep coming back to is like, even if the 1 seed is wrapped up, you have a situation here where Fee and Dejanay Carrington have still yet to play together. And I think that partnership and that chemistry can build pretty quickly. But you have a pretty imposing 9-player rotation in an ideal setting. I don't think you want to get to the playoffs with that, those exact 9 players only having played a couple of times.
Right.
Like it's a good time to work things out. So it's just kind of a catch-22 of when and where you want to start. I kind of knew there's no way Fee was going to play in the first of a back-to-back last night. But tonight has been the game I've been curious about ever since. It was a little more than 2 weeks ago. They said it'll be 2 weeks at least. And then I looked at the schedule and I was like, okay, Friday at Indy seems like the earliest it could be, even though it's more than 2 weeks. I don't know. What are your thoughts on just that timeline and like how you would handle it logically if you're calling the shots?
Yeah, I would, I agree with you. I've kind of thought maybe, recently, especially as she's kind of gone from, progressed from out to now questionable. I thought, with it where we weren't going to see her in a back-to-back playing, especially both games, that's for sure. I could, honestly, I could see her sitting out yet against Indiana and then just coming back. Her first game back is at home on Sunday. I could see that happening. But the other thing you have to kind of weigh too, and I know this is something on their mind, they won't say it, but I know this is something on their minds, is the longer she sits out, you have to start thinking about MVP too. I know that's something they want her to get for fee. I mean, that's anything. If you have a shot at it, you want that player to go get it. And I don't think that her, even if she sat out 2 more games, it would be that much of a difference. But the longer she sits out, you have to start bringing that into question, because I think before her injury, she was a clear front runner.
Especially if Vegas just isn't going to lose again.
Right. And Asia Wilson is playing the way she is because she's playing out of this world. But, I do think that that's kind of in the back of their mind, but also a championship is in the back of their mind too. So there is that kind of tug pull that you have to play with that situation. But if I had to guess, and I'm not reporting anything. I'm not, I don't know anything, but I don't know anything about anything ever. But anyway, I would say, if I had to choose, or maybe if I was calling the shots, I would say that she returns Sunday.
Okay.
Just let her sit out one more, and then, especially with Indiana being really shorthanded, I feel like this is kind of a get right game for the players that went through the loss against Atlanta, and or at least the last 2 losses. But that's just kind of where I'm at with that. But I can see, I obviously would love to see her back against Indiana tonight. That's for sure.
Right. Well, that's where I feel like you could maybe do like a minutes restriction.
Yeah, that is true. Yeah.
Kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know.
Because she will be, regardless of when she comes back, she's going to be on some sort of restriction, I would think.
And yeah, I mean, of course, you'd put her in there, and if she gets the toughest matchup with Aaliyah Boston against the Fever.
Right.
This episode of Lynx Happy Hour is brought to you by Pentz Homes. The team at Pentz Homes has experience working with first-time home buyers, folks selling their first home and buying their next place, to people looking to downsize. With the best tools, technology, and trusted vendors to help with any home project, Pentz Homes is a top choice for buyers and sellers. For more info and to set up a time to meet with Nate and the team to talk about your home buying or selling needs, visit pentzhomes.com. That is Pentz, PentzHomes.com. Yeah, the MVP thing is interesting because that's now starting to become part of the discourse, and I don't think that is influencing decision making within the the Lynx within the Lynx organization. But it is, fee being MVP is something that this organization does want and wants badly. It's not just a fee thing. If you talk to Fee, she's gonna like personal stuff, cool, whatever. I want to win a championship, and that is 100% sincere. And you don't have to win the MVP to win the championship. It's not a prerequisite, but that is it's something that I do know that they want badly for Fee. And we're kind of just in that stage now. Like I'm starting to see people be like, oh, I think it's now Asia's award to lose. I still think it's Fee's to lose. And this is my first year as a voter. So I'm, weird flex, but okay. That's where I'm at. I think I'll be pretty transparent with my ballot across, but I've people who reveal their ballots publicly, usually the comments and reactions to it aren't just like, oh yeah, rational thinking. Good job. It's, kind of the opposite of that. So we'll see if I want any of that smoke, but I think she's still the MVP on my ballot, and probably several others. And we've got 9 regular season games left. Asia missed time too. So if it's just kind of like the matter of a few different games total, and you have, a player on the team that, maybe it's not quite a runaway for the 1 seed, but it's still pretty comfortable. Like they'd have to lose a lot to lose the 1 seed. And then we're having different conversations.
They basically have it wrapped up without having it officially wrapped up. I mean, with the amount of games left,
5.5 lead with 9 games to go. And you play Connecticut in those games.
Now, if they
it's
played Atlanta 3 more times or something like that, then maybe we have something to worry
it's
about. But
well, yeah, especially for the health of my eyes with the way that floor appears on TV.
oh
We
my
gotta we
gosh, I
gotta
had a
do something
headache.
about that.
It's
It's so
terrible.
weird. It's so weird, man.
I like the paint on there, or the like gradient paint that they have on that
Yeah,
court, but I just absolutely hate the dark gray.
the dark. It's so weird.
Uh,
I don't know. Like I think if the Dream make the finals, I imagine they'll be playing at Phillips, but I don't know if that
yeah,
means that they move the exact same floor or if they have a different floor or something like that. The dark gray is hard on TV. Maybe
it
it
is.
looks really cool in person. I don't know,
Yeah,
but
it's tough.
we've got to do something about that. So yeah, you're not playing Atlanta three
Yeah,
times. Thankfully, you'll probably play them again at some point.
yeah.
Uh, at least three times. But you can cross that bridge when you come to it. So yeah, I think tonight or Sunday night, maybe
Hmm.
Sunday night, to be safe. You'd get a pretty big ovation either way
Yeah.
um, from the fans, but just got to make sure that there's no setback and
Hmm.
no um nothing to worry about. But again, I do think I get why people are saying be overly cautious, but you did make a fairly significant trade
Hmm.
the day after Fee went out with injury. And I don't think there's like any worry that like Fee and Dejanay aren't gonna, vibe on the floor.
Right.
But it takes time to, figure things out. And like, where do
Mhm.
players want the ball? What are they gonna do in this situation? What would they do in that situation? And you really can only work that out by playing
Yeah.
together.
Hmm.
And I think, 9 regular season games is a good amount of time to get any kinks worked out.
Right.
4 or 5 regular season games, cutting it a little tight, in my opinion. So just to get that experience together and get everything flowing, so you're like ascending as you're going into the playoffs. That's kind of my thought process on it. But
Yeah.
that's
Yeah.
a
They,
reaction to hearing people say, "Oh, it doesn't really matter if you play as the rest of the season." Basically, since the injury took place.
yeah. It's not only important for her to get back healthy, but just get back on the floor and just kind of get Minnesota back to where they were. Maybe if they're not playing as hot as they were in the first half of the year or whatever, but just back to the team that we all know and have seen this year. And then they can kind of go from there. And I think that they'll be all right. But they the run, like to your point, they're running out of time to be able to figure things out.
Yeah. Well, because I mean, the whole league's running out of time,
Oh, right,
and
right, yeah,
that's advantage Lynx as they have a 5.5 game cushion for that 1 seed,
yeah.
but
And they're still 29-6 or 20, no,
28-7.
28. Oh geez, oh my gosh.
7,
20.
I know, doesn't they're piling
Oh,
up, Mitchell.
I just
just
apparently
a
mentally just clocked
just
that
an
they
80
beat me.
just an 80% winning percentage. What the hell's happening? uh
It's a good problem to have when we're picking apart the problems that
it's
are quote
also
unquote
wild
problems.
how high everyone was like 4 days ago,
Yeah.
coming off the last New York win.
Mhm.
And yeah, you in 4 games against New York, you won 3,
Mhm.
and Jonquel Jones only went off once,
Yeah.
and it was the game you lost in. And of course, they didn't have Brianna Stewart, but a
But
couple games, and one where you really ran them off the floor on their own building. Like it's, I get why the ebbs and flows change, but it's like there's no reason to be upset
yeah.
with. Like they've still by far been the best team in August, maybe with the exception of the Aces. But that 53-point beatdown against the Aces did take place in August.
Yeah, that is
And
true.
if we really want to get into hot takes, we can to say maybe that's the biggest mistake the Lynx made all year, is waking up that monster.
Yeah.
But I'll I'll
Well,
I'll I'll wait until we're
you
in September to talk about that.
right. I agree. The thing too that I keep going back to is like, okay, so the Lynx are without fee. They have been for most of the month. People are maybe panicking over these back-to-back losses, but the Lynx were in both of these games until the very end
Mm,
without Nafisa Collier. Well, the New York
right.
game, maybe not towards the very end, but
Right.
they were
It
right
was with like
within.
4 or 5 minutes left.
Yeah,
It
yeah.
was,
And I
yeah,
mean, the Atlanta game came down to the final seconds. Like you're playing these two teams who are number 2 and number 3 in the standings, who are behind you, and you're playing them without your best player, and you're still almost beating them. Like,
on the road.
yeah, on the road too. And it's so, I mean, yes, maybe some are starting to worry, some fans are starting to worry, but I mean, just wait till Fee gets back, and then things will get back rolling again, and this team will get back to what it was. So it. I know that I fully understand. I'm a Minnesota fan. I'm a Vikings fan. I understand how the week to week things go. I know how emotions ride high, or on that roller coaster. I've been there. I know that. But just trust me, everybody. Just take a break, take a breath. We'll be all right.
Yeah, it is. It's weird to, feel that level of confidence given um the rest of the teams in this
Yeah,
goddamn state that we happen to be born in.
yeah,
Oh yeah, the
yeah.
Vikings play tonight too.
They
That you
do.
mentioned it on
So do the
CBS
Twins, but
against.
we don't need to talk about
No,
them.
no, they don't.
Don't they
They
actually? I
they
don't even
they,
know.
they no, they you're right, they do, but I'm just saying that they basically don't. I don't acknowledge that clusterfuck
Uh,
across the street anymore. There was a few times earlier this season where I was like looking up when the Twins had day games on the same day that like the Lynx had home games at like 6 or 7.
yeah.
And I was like, oh, I'll just go over to Target Field after shoot around, maybe with my notebook, and just like prep for the game a little bit while just being around baseball for a few hours, and then just go right back over to Target Center, right? And that sounds like a lovely day, but
I think
the
I'd
Pro
rather go sit
lads,
in the
they
library
ruined
now.
it. I'd rather go sit anywhere. I'd rather go sit in traffic. All right, let's get back to talking about the team that gives Minnesotans a lot of joy, and that is the Minnesota Lynx. Um, is there anything else as we sort of look or out the rest of the season? What do you want to see in this stretch that makes you feel good about going into the playoffs? Like, are there any lingering questions? Like, there's still, like we mentioned, there's 9 games, so it's not
Yeah.
a small amount of basketball. So
Hmm.
you want to see the winning at least stay level, if not continue.
Right.
But if there's anything like any sort of like concerns, we'll see them play Vegas again in Vegas.
Yeah.
Like that's going to be a pretty premier game. They'll draw the Valkyries twice when the Valkyries might be fighting for their playoff lives. So those will
Hmm.
be interesting there in September. Uh, Seattle will badly need to win this coming Thursday in Minneapolis. Um, yeah, any matchups stick out? Any sort of lingering questions that you maybe have not yet seen answered?
You know, as far as the schedule, like I'm just looking over the schedule right now. They are going to be getting everybody's best at the end of the year. Maybe with the exception of Connecticut, but everybody's going to be fighting for a spot. Everybody's going to be fighting for seeding. You're also going to be playing more of those games on the road than you are at home. So
Mm-hmm.
that's something that I'm really interested in, because I mean that you learn a lot about yourself when you're on the road and you're playing in a road environment. Minnesota's done great in that area. Obviously, they've had more losses on the road than at home, and you prefer to be at home, which if they get the number one seed, they'll be at home more often than not anyway. But
Mm-hmm.
I am looking at that Las Vegas Golden State stretch. It's September 4th and September 6th. I'm really interested in that road. Well, it's basically they have a 3 game road
Three
trip
games on the
there that ends with
yeah,
Indiana on September 9th. But
of course.
that stretch is going
So
to be
the
I'm
second goofy 3 game road trip that ends in
oh my gosh.
Indiana,
Yeah.
this time touching a different coast.
Yes. But I
No back to back though.
specifically that Las Vegas game, especially if they can keep playing the way they are, that one will be a very interesting game. And we could very well see Minnesota, just absolutely dominate that game. But I think that will be a good, test in that 3-game road trip, or that span right there. When it comes to Minnesota, what I kind of want to see, we saw this in the Atlanta game. Yes, it's just I'm kind of mentioning it because it's happened more recently, but I'd like to see him clean things up offensively. Obviously, with turnovers, that has to change, especially heading into the postseason. But um, I would also like to see, and we have to some extent, when Fee comes back, this will change a little bit too, with Jeff Shepard kind of dropping back into the bench or into the second unit. But I'd like to see a little bit more production from the bench. I mean, in the Atlanta game, I was kind of surprised with that, just with the lack of production off of the bench, and that's been something that Minnesota's done really well with. Tisha Heidemann or DJ Carrington coming in, or Jess Shepard when she is coming off the bench, coming in and providing that spark, has been huge for this team. And they definitely missed that, obviously, in the Atlanta game. But that's something I'd like to just continue to see more consistently. And if they can do that, they're already a tough team to play and tough team to face. But if they can have a bench producing off the bench like they have been most of the year, they're a very tough team to play.
Yeah. And that was kind of weird because that was sort of the inverse of the game in New York on Tuesday, where Cheryl said it after the game, like the starters just weren't ready to play.
Right.
And got great minutes out of the bench. But that was just too big of a hole to fully overcome. And then you get a great start from the starters on Thursday night in Atlanta. And just kind of there are some solid minutes among especially those three, but it just didn't have kind of the same continuity as it's had in other games. Because when it is going, like, I'm ready to see. I love the lineup that has, or the idea of BC, K-Mac, and Dejanay all out there at the same time, and you're just putting guards and wings in handcuffs.
Yeah.
And that's something that I think you could allow. You can then play with Jess and Lan down low without losing a ton of size, and you can give Fee some minutes to rest during the playoffs. So, yeah,
that is the thing I like about Dejanay is just they can now play a little bit smaller, and not even really skip a beat. They can they can adjust to whatever team they are playing for the most part. And then you talked about in the paint and stuff that you have when Fee comes back, then you have Jess coming off the bench, and that's a heck of a player coming off the bench and kind of doing a little bit of everything and adding physicality. It's amazing. I am still amazed at how deep this team is too. It's incredible, and they're going to get deeper next year. But we'll get into that when we get there. But thanks, Chicago.
I'm pretty excited for the off-season podcasts.
Oh my gosh!
Not to wish the rest of the season and postseason away, but when we mapped out the schedule for like the whole year, and it was like, oh yeah, then like just November will just be like rest time and stuff. And I don't know if we're gonna be able to do that.
No, I don't think
certainly not January. So we'll see. But yeah, Lynx fans, you deserve as much mediocre content of the greatest team possible. So maybe we won't take any time off. Maybe we'll start like 4 or 5 more podcasts.
Yeah, why not?
There's no way. There's like, especially with college football starting, there's like 1,000 Alabama football podcasts. They haven't won as many championships. Maybe they have. I don't know. But still. So that's pretty much what I got. We got a game starting in a couple of hours, so we should maybe publish this episode.
Heck yeah.
I'm gonna do very minimal editing, so I'm just gonna give the outro right here. But thank you again, Mitchell, for joining.
You bet. Thank you for having me. It's always a blast joining Lynx Happy Hour. So I'm happy to welcome in the weekend with everybody.
Hell yeah. And you can be followed at
you can follow me on X at M_Hansen13, or I'm also on Blue Sky. You can kind of follow me wherever. Find my work. Follow Hitting the Hardwood at Hitting Hardwood on X, and then Hitting the Hardwood on Blue Sky. But give us a follow and follow them.
Find our Patreon.
Yes.
Lots of fun stuff going up there.
Yes. Patreon.com/Hitting the Hardwood.
Maybe I'll only reveal my voting ballot to the
Let's
Patreon
go.
members.
Let's do it.
There's yeah. Or I'll let the patrons like choose one. Like they'll get like to actually that's probably against the laws, against the rules of voting. Anyway, there'll be some kind of end of season award special for Hitting the Hardwood Patreon members. That we can do.
Heck yeah. But no, in all seriousness, Patreon page, it supports us. It supports the work that we do, and just kind of gives us a little extra boost sometimes to be able to provide these podcasts to everybody, so that you can get exclusive news and early access to different things, and everything in one location. So, and it's just a couple bucks a month. So if you're able to, please support and check us out.
Guaranteed, deals with homage and stuff too.
Yes.
Keeps the mics on, keeps them plugged in.
Yep.
So yeah, shout out to you. Shout out to homage. Shout out to Pentz Homes. And thank you, fans. You have been excellent. I have been Terry Horseman with Mitchell HANSEN on this episode of Lynx Happy Hour, where Lynx basketball is always on special. Enjoy the games. Enjoy the state fair. If you have any state fair food takes, then hit us up on all the socials, and we want to know. Maybe that'll be a Patreon exclusive or something too.
Yes.
But enjoy the fair. Enjoy the games. Have fun. Be excellent. And have a great weekend, everybody. Peace.
Go Lynx.